Okay, Don McGann back again here, and we are now going to talk about cervical headgear. Cervical headgear, and of course cervical headgear is one of the only methods that we have to apply a distal force, but it's a heavy force, onto the upper teeth and maxilla. Okay, so what we're going to do here, we're going to use the gum articulator, and I have a ruler. That's going to be to determine the face bow size. And I have like a neck strap, okay, and I have two equal pull modules. These modules are light. Light is 12 ounces. If the arrow points towards heavy, then that would be 24 ounces. And this pulls out. And the one thing about the equal pull headgear is it applies the same force at any extension of the string, except for maybe this seems to be pretty good, right? Even on a very small extension. So maybe they even fix that. Okay, I also have like a light wire plier. I have like a headgear 3-prong plier. It's a very heavy 3-prong. Don't use your other 3-prong on these face bows. I have an arch marking pencil. You'll see with that, and just as a pointer, I have a scaler. Okay, so let's first determine the size of the face bow that we need. To do that, I'm going to take a ruler, and I'm going to extend the ruler to the midline, and you can see here the midline on this one is approximately 45 to 47 millimeters from the headgear tube. Okay, so I take a flexible ruler, just wrap it around, okay, and so you just go right to the midline there. So I see 47 actually on this one, and I have a 90 millimeter, but this one could be larger. Let's see how this one fits. Here is a 90 millimeter size 2. Size 2, it says 90 millimeters. Face bow. And of course your inventory, you have a very small inventory of this. Sorry. So let's go through the face bow. This is called the inner bow. The inner bow is going to be inside the cheeks. You can remember it that way. And it's going to go near the brackets, not touching the brackets like this one is right now. And then I have the outer bow. And the outer bow on a cervical headgear should be longer than the inner bow. And that's for the reason to more easily obtain the correct line of force. Okay, so here's my patient. Let's see what we can start out like. We insert it in one side of the headgear. The loop goes gingival, and you can see on the opposite side that it doesn't reach, okay? Well, to make it reach, you would have to change the toe in or toe out, right? Okay. So that to me looks like I have to change the toe out on this side. All right, so how do you change the toe out? All right, let's see, this side is this one. Okay, on the light wire plier, you have like a round end and a flat end, but you also have right at the base of it, you can see that there is a flat area, okay? And this is what I would use on the plier. And let's extend, let's see. No, we want to make it toe in. Okay, so there's a little bit of a toe in. So I just bent it in. Let's see how that goes. Let's insert one side now. And sure enough, the other side at least extends to the molar. Okay? All right, now it's kind of like hitting this one bracket. I really don't want to do that, and it's hitting these brackets on this side. Actually, this face bow is a little bit small for this. I'm gonna go get another one because that's why I say this was a little bit small. I'm gonna turn it off. We'll start again. Okay, I'm back again. I just went back, of course, and got myself another size. The next size is size 3, which is 97 millimeters. That makes more sense. If I had measured with the ruler right up against the teeth, just wrapped around to the midline at 47, that would be 94, and then 97 should give us a little bit more space away from the teeth. This one looks a little better, okay, just on first look, okay? See that? Okay, so let's start over. Here we go. You flip it upside down to get the loops, and again I have to toe in to get this other side there. So let's get a toe in. Again at the base of the plier, toe in. Okay. And sure enough, that gets it pretty close on this side. Maybe a little slight bit more toe in. Okay, so let's look at the other side. And again, that side needs to be toed in because the face bow is more anterior. So let me toe in that side a little bit more. And let's toe in this side, like so. And let's try this side first. Okay, it looks pretty good. And I can almost, so if I give it just a little squeeze, it kind of fits, but it's hitting the brackets right here for sure. It's hitting the bracket, and it's hitting the bracket here. Okay, so let's get that out of there before we break our ceramic brackets. That would, of course, be a disaster. Okay, so now I've got too much like constriction on the side here. Okay, now this is a very heavy wire along here. You do not want to use a light wire plier on that part of the inner bow. So if I use a 3-prong right here on the side, let's say I mark it, it'd be smarter to mark it approximately at the cuspids. I'll make a little white marking pencil at the cuspids. Okay, so I've made little marks on here. That's where I would like it to bow out. Okay, now I could, now what I want to do is I want to make an out bend. I want to make an out bend right at that mark. Okay, so I put the like face bow plier there, and I squeeze this. This one is at the mark, and I squeeze. You saw that move out, I'm sure. Okay, I made a little bend there. Flip the plier for the other side, and you don't want it this way. You want it like parallel. Okay, and let's see. There's the mark. Okay, and when I squeeze, it takes almost both hands to do. Okay, now we have some width. Okay, so let's look and see where we stand. We're here. Now it's like clearing the like cuspids. It might be hitting this cuspid here, so let me just go a little bit more anterior, bend that out. Okay. Okay, so yeah, actually a little more anterior, maybe I'll bend that out there. Okay, so, oops, sorry, wrong way. Okay. All right, so I have bent this face bow out to avoid the like cuspid here. Okay, see that? Now I have to curve it back in. Where do I need to curve it back in? Well, I need to curve it back in right there where the transition is between this big wire and the small wire. You see that? Okay, so again, take your 3-prong face bow, put it right at that transition, and squeeze. Okay, and right at the transition again, squeeze. That one really squeezed. Okay, let's see where we are here. Okay. All right, we're still a little wide, aren't we? All right, well, we can take another plier here too. This is the hollow chop. We could curve in a little bit. And this is like a heavier plier. Not heavy enough for this part of the face bow, but right at this like transition, you can work with the hollow chop to make it curve in. Okay, so let's see where we are here. Okay, I think right on the heavy part, right in the bicuspid area here, I'd like to curve that in. Okay. Yeah, without the headgear, the 3-prong headgear plier, you're out to lunch. It's not going to work. Okay, now I've got too much curve actually. You can see the toe in on the molars. You see the toe in on the molars now? Okay, so now it looks like I've got the like heavy part of this bent out away from the brackets, and now I just have to work back in the back of the, I have to reduce the toe in. That I do with the light wire plier. Okay, if I put one side in, it's still way too much in. And maybe I even use the hollow chop plier, reduce that curve just a little bit right in there. We're really beating up this face bow. This is a very difficult adjustment, by the way. This would not be usual. Here we go. Here we go. Hitting, oh my gosh, it's hitting the ceramic bracket here on this left side over here. Let's see, so if I bend this in, that'll pull that out. This is a really tough one here. And let's change the toe in. So basically, you just have to work it until you get what you want, and now we're more symmetrical here. But you can see that on this side over here, we need to bend this out a little bit and change the toe in. Okay, so it's a very difficult one to fit. This will like challenge you. It'll challenge you to get this right. But if you can do this one in the mouth, you'll have an easier time. Okay, now we're pretty much passive, okay? So you put it on one side, and you can see that the toe in is just about right. I'd have to like expand it till I can insert it, okay? And it wants to pull out on one side like a little bit, and what that would do is it would twist this molar like so. If you want to do that, fine. If you don't, well, then you just make a little slight adjustment on the opposite side for the toe in, that's all. Okay. All right, now what I want to do here, now that I have the face bow fit to this level, is I want to make some expansion, because normally the patient's supposed to squeeze the inner bow. I'll show you how that is. Squeeze the inner bow till I insert it, okay? That's what you're going to instruct the patient with the loops up. So I want some expansion. Well, you might even be able to do this just with your fingers. Let's see how that goes. Yeah, that looks good. Okay, so what we're looking for is if we insert on one side, the other side is just outside, so that might even be like too much expansion. It's just outside of the tube, of the headgear tube. So let me see here. There we go, right there. You see that? I just gave a little squeeze with my fingers. You don't have to do everything with a plier. See that? Okay, so they have to squeeze it just a little bit to insert the other side. And that's sitting there nice. It's not like contacting any of my sensitive ceramic brackets, which I don't want to break. Okay, so now it's time to make sure it fits between their lips. Okay, now if it doesn't fit between their lips, this looks pretty good, but let's just say, for instance, that the lips came right at the insides of the ledge. Okay, just as a reference here. All right, so we need to move the inner bow down. How would you do that? Again, the adjustment at the molar. So to move it down, again, we take the base of the light wire plier. We would do that. Take the base of the light wire plier, bend it down a little bit. And let's see how that goes. A little squeeze to insert. Okay, push it back. And we're a little low. No, actually, we're just about right at the incisal ledges of the upper. We're just about right there. Okay, with that. If you didn't like it, you just make a little adjustment. Now, what we would like to do when the face bow force is hooked up, that you're going to see this anterior move up just a little bit. That's going to be an indication for you that the force is correct. Okay? Okay, so you take this, you then change your focus to the outer bow. Now the outer bow is going to be outside the cheeks. You don't want it way away from their cheeks. So let's just say it was too far away. It was going to hook their pillow. Okay? All right. So while it's hooked up on the patient, you don't take it off their teeth to do this. You would, let's say, bend right there to move it towards towards the face. Okay? Or away from the face would be opposite. Okay, let's now make a mark. This face bow is really getting beat up. Let's make a mark now. This is from the molars, the mesial of the molars, which would be where? The mesial of the molars is going to be right at the base here of this loop. Oh, I didn't talk to you about that loop. This is also an adjustment loop. If it was like too tight against the teeth or too far away, you would take a light wire plier. You see this way it is with the square end in the middle and the round end on top. Give a little squeeze. That extends the inner bow. Okay. All right. So now a lot of adjustments possible on this. So now what we'd like to do is make a mark on the outer bow where the molar is. Well, how we do that is we take a Sharpie, or in this case I just have a wax marking pencil, and using the ruler as a straight edge, I'm going to make a mark. Okay, now on the outside of the face, you insert it. On the outside of the face, you're going to measure 10 millimeters up and 1 millimeter back. Well, I don't know if we're that exact, but that's what we're going to be doing. We're going to be measuring 10 millimeters up, and we're going to make a little dot on their face. Okay, and that's going to be the line of force from the extension of the spring, of the string here. Sorry. Not spring, string, okay? Okay, so let's say the dot's up there. This like string would be down like that, extending up to the dot. Okay? Okay, let's look at our next strap now. We have, take out the Made in China here. We have two possibilities for the location of the modules. So the modules get inserted make sure to have your dental assistant do this. Okay, let's see here. Let's extend that a little. There we go. Should be able to do it with your finger, but if they're too easy to get on, they're also too easy to get off, right? So what we don't want to do is we want to have the patient getting these off. Okay, now I've got it. There we go. Okay. So the modules, I need a little help here from the curette, I think. There we go, nice and clean. Okay, so the modules can be hooked here, or they can be moved back to this location for the smaller heads. Okay, so you have another location here. That'd be even harder to get on. Okay, but you could get it on. You just have to like pull, twist, tug, right? And you could move it to there if you had to. Okay, so it's either here or here. Okay, so you have about, I don't know, like a centimeter per side that you can have a choice of. All right, so the face bow is inserted, loops up. Squeeze a little bit the inner bow if you tell the patient to insert it. And of course, if they have to look in a mirror and they fumble around at the adjustment, then you know that they have not been wearing it. Okay. All right. And then there would be your neck. Okay. And now you're just looking to see if a string extends through the line of force dot, which should be coincident with the furcation of the molar. Okay. All right. So we don't ever deal with trying to shorten this. To make this little round bend here would be extremely difficult. If the line of force is not lining up, we then take our, you guessed it, your face bow headgear plier, but this is with the force hooked up now, okay, because that changes so you can see the line of force, and then we would move it down or up. Now normally these like face bows are up a little bit from the occlusal plane, like this one is, just by that coincidence when I was working on the inner bow. So your most common adjustment, while the patient has this on here, you squeeze hard, straight up, and you make the outer bow change like the direction of force of the string until the extension of the string goes through the dot. So again, the face bow in a vertical, the headgear like adjustment plier, either vertically or you flip it over to make it inferior until the line of force goes in that direction. At that point, it's just a matter of your wear time. You have that constant force. This will last for a long time. Years, it was still the same, like 12 ounces. So it's just a matter of the amount of force. The like 12 ounce you're going to use for the young kids. You'll get in a 24 ounce with the like skeletal class 2 cases. And after about age like 10 or so, you'll get into those. And so it's the amount of force, the direction of force, that's controlled by which direction the string is and how you like adjust the outer bow to make the extension of the spring. And then the wear time. Wear time would be either at night only. You're gonna get the best results out of that as far as being like consistent, or 10 to 14 hours would mean that they would wear wear the appliance when they got home from school. Do not have them wear it to school under that direction. And if there's a friend there, don't wear it. And if there is not a friend there, they're just doing homework, watching TV, then please put it on. Take it off for dinner, put it on at night all the way through. And then, of course, if there is a really big case, I suppose you could go full-time wear, but that's theoretically not really possible in a lot of the cultures. So I know that some people wear it 24 ounces. So I usually go 24 hours per day. I usually go either at night only or 10 to 14 hours. That's the prescription. If the patient wears it, you'll see some change. If the patient doesn't wear it, you will absolutely see no change at all. It doesn't work, okay, unless you wear it. There is a force. The only issue is what's the response to that force, okay? And that has to do with the wear time, the amount of force, the direction of force, and the age of the patient, okay? Unfortunately, that's a little bit variable, of course. So we always want to have a backup what happens if the headgear isn't really giving us the treatment response we want. Okay, it's just a few little pliers, a couple little modules, and of course the face bow. This would be considered a difficult face bow adjustment. Most of them will just kind of slide in there. Of course, the ceramic brackets are a little bit more like prominent, so it's kind of difficult. And our molars, if the molars are rotated mesiolingual and you cannot engage the molar, then the best thing to do would be to first use this would be if the molar was twisted this way, mesial palatal, then the best thing would be to take an 18 by 25 nickel titanium wire from, let's say, 1 to 1 or 2 to 2, depending on the cuspid eruption, to the molar bands. Let that derotate. You could also derotate with a transpalatal bar, a TPA, but that's a little bit more difficult. It's a stronger, it's a heavier force, heavier wire, hard to activate. So I would just prefer an 18 by 25 NiTi alignment wire to derotate those molars. Also, if you have nice molars, a young kid, one of the advantages of this appliance is that you can apply it to only 2 upper molar bands. You do not have to have a set of brackets. Okay, just one more appliance in the bag of tricks that we have. And it's really not all that complicated. This one was pretty complicated getting it adjusted around the brackets, but it's just a matter of just working it with these same pliers. With these pliers, that's it. That's all you have. You keep working it until